afternoon, gardeners, and welcome to Desert Gardening News, a Star Nursery podcast. I'm Joey Lynn, staff arborist, but you might know me better from Dr. Q's house calls.
And I'm your co-host, Madalyn. Since 1983, our communities have grown, and so have we. Today, you can find Star Nursery garden centers throughout southern Nevada, southern Utah, and northern Arizona with a total of 16 garden centers and 9 decorative rock yards.
And this year
marks your garden's partner for every bloomin' thing's 40 years here in our communities.
That is remarkable. I think that is the most exciting thing, is that we have been here in the community for 40 years doing what we do best, which is supplying the community with everything for your garden so that you can be successful, whether it's landscape material, plant material, education, information. That is what our goal is. That's what we strive to do at Star Nursery, is be your resource for everything gardening in Desert Southwest. So we, like Madalyn said at the beginning, we are in southern Nevada, right? Mm-hmm. We are in northern Arizona and southern Utah. So we cover the Desert Southwest. So that's the stuff that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about seasonal things that apply to the Desert Southwest and how important it is to understand the specialty of this, right?
Mm-hmm. And for 40 years, we just thought that one more resource couldn't hurt anybody. So here we are, our first episode of Desert Gardening News podcast. If you're unfamiliar, we do have Desert Gardening News segments on air every weekend on our local channels, as well as a YouTube channel. So you can check out our past segments there. But this podcast is meant for just a more casual setting and just more conversation about gardening topics, and what you need to know to be successful gardening in the desert.
Well, first, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, my name is Madalyn. I first started at Star Nursery when I was 17 years old, I think. It was my second job. And I worked outside in the yard. I mainly just watered plants and consolidated things and helped out customers. And now, since I've graduated, I work in the marketing department as a digital marketing assistant, and now as a podcast producer and co-host.
Exciting.
So we're going to be on this journey together, everyone, and it'll be very fun just to see how we can all grow in this community and in the garden world.
Well, and tell us a little bit about the education that you're getting right now.
That's right. I'm also a student still. So since I've graduated college, I've now moved to get my certification as a Nevada nurseryman, and I will be a certified Nevada nurseryman, which is really exciting. And I'll be qualified to help people with their plants and general garden facts.
What's really exciting about that is that we partner up with the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension, and this is a University of Nevada certified program, and it's a 12-week certification. I know about it because I was one of the first classes, and I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of the education that we generate. I'm Joey Lynn. I am our staff certified arborist. So I have certification with the ISA, which is International Society of Arboriculture. And I am really, really thrilled to be able to bring that education to real world application. It's not just about trees. Arborists there are lots of classifications of arborists, from tree trimming, tree work, but mine is the specialty of woody plants and diseases and just general health for all woody plants. So my education covers trees, shrubs, lawns, vegetables, herbs. We're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk all about it. This is so exciting.
And as our first episode with you guys, we're just so excited to be on this platform and sharing this information with you. So stay tuned for our topics today. We're going to be going over the latest in desert gardening news and also some general information you might need to get started in your gardens in the desert. So the first thing that we're going to be discussing in this episode is going to be our desert gardening news portion. So each episode will be discussing different things that are going on within the gardening community and within the desert. So our most recent development that has come to light is actually in regards to the Colorado River. If you didn't know, these Southern Basin communities, we all get our water from the Colorado River. You guys are probably familiar with the Hoover Dam, but this is all intertwined together, and we have noticed just a real steep decline in water, and it's going to be affecting all those states that pull from the Colorado River for their water supply, including Nevada, Utah, Arizona, California. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about that today. So Joey Lynn, if you'd like to take it away. So what's going on right now with the Colorado River?
Well, we are in a severe drought. And what's interesting is Nevada gets most of the publicity in all of this because we are directly related because of our water sports and Lake Mead, and we see it all the time. And we have our Southern Nevada Water Authority, who has been actively reaching out to the community, educating us. For years, they have been telling us that this is our most precious resource, and we have come alongside and tried to kind of conserve. But then as things increased, Southern Nevada Water Authority has had to put real strict restrictions on us. And we as Star Nursery have partnered up with Southern Nevada Water Authority to be extra support in educating the community on our water usage. Now, there was an article put out, and the Silver State management, they had all gotten together, and there was this big conference that just happened. And so this is what sparked our interest in really kind of diving in and try to understand. So it is called the Colorado River drought, okay? And there are 7 states that are involved. And this might be really new to some people. When I read this, I was in shock. Because the focus is always on Nevada and on how we're doing it. So there are 2 basins. There's the upper basin and the lower basin, okay? The upper basin consists of Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and New Mexico. So these are the states that get their water from the Colorado River, okay? Now, the lower basin states are Nevada, Arizona, and California. We are divided. We are divided because the lower basins, we are using nearly 7.5 million acres of our allotted Colorado River. I think in the article it says that we started out at, let's say, 15. Now we're down to 12. Now we've got more allocations that are being taken back. And it's all because we have rainfall that's not happening anymore. So when all of this was set up in like the 20s, there was an expectation that rainfall would continue to fill and that's why the Hoover Dam was created.
Right.
And now we're not getting that rainfall. So now the upper basin, that is Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and New Mexico. They only use 4.5 million. So we have almost doubled. Our southern lower basins double the use that Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and Wyoming use. Now, why is that? Probably because they experience more rainfall, and we experience less. So we're using less out of the Colorado. So that's the big nutshell. The problem is that with that, we've got less water, rainfall. Our farmers are experiencing 74% less produce to harvest. And that is turning into 42% of our farmers are changing their crops. So we're losing crops. Yes. So this is really, really important to us because Southern Nevada Water Authority has asked us to curb our water consumption.
Right.
And how is it that we can teach people how to use water? Because the first thing you're going to say is, well, I still want to take a shower. I still want to drink water and boil my water for pasta, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are all really important things. But
I still want to water my garden.
That's right. Well, that's the key. 60% of residential properties, their water is landscape use.
Yeah.
And that is probably the most unrecyclable water.
Right.
So everything that comes out of the faucet into a sink in Southern Nevada is all reclaimed, recycled, highly treated,
right.
very drinkable. It's very safe. And then it gets recycled. Now, outside water usage with landscape is not. It is not recycled. But the benefits, they're there. There's amazing benefits from watering your plants and what that does for the atmosphere and how it's a cooling effect and how we create microclimates. So we have to learn how to work together. We have to learn how to educate, and we have to know the signs of how we're wasting water in our landscape. So quickly, there are things that we have to learn. We're going to every single episode that we're going to talk about is probably going to be somehow related with irrigation. We have to water plants that produce for us, whether it's a vegetable, a fruit, a rose. They need water to do that. So we're going to be that kind of educator or that voice that's going to say, that's going to say, okay, we're going to do it responsibly. Yeah. We're not going to just have evaporation because we're going to teach you guys, or we're not going to say that the Water Authority's time frame is important. The reason that Southern Nevada Water Authority has created these restrictions is so that we stay within the parameter that we can retain our water. So no watering in the afternoon where water evaporates. We get an allotted day so that we're not putting strain on our infrastructure and everybody's trying to water at the same time. And then we also need to be very, very aware of the different types of irrigation, which we're going to get into that. So we're not going to get into that now. But that article was eye-opening for me. I thank you, Madalyn, for having that as part of our podcast, because I'm so excited for what we're going to learn and how it's going to be applicable.
So would you say that you should follow the SNWA
Absolutely.
guidelines, or what resources can people get into so that they know that they're not, using too much water or experiencing runoff, or, what kinds of things should people be doing right now?
You need to know your watering day. Southern Nevada Water Authority has given us guidelines on when and how we water. When Southern Nevada Water Authority puts out these mandates, they're actually referring to the maximum landscape irrigation that you can do, okay? Which is anywhere from 1 day a week, depending on the season, which is winter, up to 6 days a week. Now, when they're referring to a 6-day-a-week irrigation schedule, they're actually giving you permission to water your lawn 6 days a week. If you do not have lawn, which that's another topic, there's a mandate for us to get rid of all unnecessary lawn, and we will talk about that, not too much today, but when you have trees and shrubs and plants that are not lawn, you're not going to need to water 6 days a week.
Right.
And it's not even recommended that you water 6 days a week. So
there's no need.
There's no need. So with irrigation, we absolutely are partners with Southern Nevada Water Authority. Anybody that you talk to in Star Nursery, we are 100% in support of the Southern Nevada Water Authority guidelines. And you can find that at snwa.com. They even have an area in that you can put in your address and find out what your watering day is. So it's very simple. They send out reminders in the cycle of your, they have email blasts, they give you paper mail. So if you are a registered homeowner and you live here, you're going to get it. You're going to get it in the mail on when you can water.
And as we continue through this drought emergency, just always keep in mind to be water wise. If you see maybe one of your neighbors has runoff from their irrigation system, you see water waste, you can report it on their website. So go on there, report what you see. Don't be a bystander when it comes to such a big issue that's affecting so many communities right now and will consequently affect our community as well.
That's right. We're all going to be responsible for this.
So here on our show, we want to have a little bit of fun, and we're going to enter our little trivia quiz portion of the show where we're going to ask the experts questions about the desert, about gardening, about desert gardening, and see what they know. This is an opportunity for us all to learn something new. There is no pressure, and it's just something fun. All right, so the first question I'm going to be asking you, are you ready?
I'm as ready as I can be, I guess.
Are you ready? All right. So the first question I'll be asking is, deserts are defined as an area of land that receives no more than how many centimeters of precipitation a year? Sorry, that's a tough word.
No more than centimeters?
Then how many centimeters of precipitation a year?
Well, that would require me to know how many centimeters are an inch.
Okay,
I tend to know inches.
How many inches?
I think that it's around 10 inches or less.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh.
So a desert is considered any part of land that just gets less than 10 inches of precipitation a year. And there's different ways. It's a very general, broad definition. It really is. And there's different ways that people are measuring it. But yeah, for the purposes of knowing what a desert is, just thought we'd introduce everyone that that's the definition of a desert. So welcome to the desert, everybody.
Do you know on average what Southern Nevada gets?
Probably, I don't even know. Like, how many? Tell me.
4.
4 inches?
Yeah.
All right, so next question, true or false? Deserts take up the majority of the Earth's land space compared to any other biome.
I would say yes.
Yeah, that is true.
That's sad. That's scary.
It's interesting. I think that most people, you're thinking of, I don't know, maybe forests or just general plains or I don't know. But yeah, it is desert. It's kind of scary that the majority of the landmass on Earth, though, is getting less than 10 inches of precipitation a year. So the remaining landmass of Earth amounts to approximately 29% of the surface, and of this remaining 29%, the deserts of all types constitute an estimated 33% of it. So 1/3 of the Earth's total landmass is desert. And this large percentage is due in part to the vastness of the world's largest desert. Can you guess what the world's largest desert is?
Is it the Mojave that we're in?
It's Antarctica.
Oh, it's Antarctica. You know what? I knew that. I did know that. I feel stupid.
Okay, that was a bonus question. Okay. That was just extra credit points.
I think I did know that because it's so shocking.
But yeah, it's an interesting fact. When I just didn't know that Antarctica was considered a desert, but yeah, it is true.
It is true.
All right, so question 3, true or false? There are over 300 species of agave.
300. That sounds like a lot. 300's a lot. I know that there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to say false.
You are correct. There are about 250 species.
Oh, well, that's pretty darn close.
Yeah,
it wasn't, believe me, I didn't get that right because I was that close. I was thinking less than that. Don't let my answer fool you. So I wasn't that close.
It's a crazy amount, though, 250 species of agave. And if you're unfamiliar, agave, you could probably consider like a century plant, an agave.
Yeah, tequila.
Yeah, agave. Yeah.
I think a lot of people will know it from the tequila.
So next question. Okay. What plant is solely native in our Mojave Desert? Which there might be more than one, and this might be too broad of a question.
You mean, so really what you're saying is the world knows it as...
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a Mojave Desert staple.
Oh, well, that would be the Joshua tree.
True.
Yay!
So the monocot Joshua tree, it is a yucca, and it is the world's largest yucca, and it is really only found in the Mojave. The first written encounter of Joshua trees came from Mormon settlers in 1844. And the tree's popularity recently gained traction well, it's not really recently, but 1987 gained a lot of traction from the release of rock band U2's famous Joshua Tree album. All right, and our last question of this little segment of the show, true or false, there are more microorganisms in 1 teaspoon of healthy soil than there is people on planet Earth.
And that I know to be true.
Ding, ding, ding.
Now, keywords
Congrats.
there is healthy.
Healthy soil.
Healthy soil.
So that's not going to include our native soil, but we'll get into that more
Yes,
later.
we're going to talk a lot of soils. Wow, Madalyn,
Well,
that was fun.
Yeah, that's the end of our quiz show. Up next, we're going to start talking a little bit more of the specifics of desert gardening and what you need to know to be successful in the desert. So gardening in the desert has its challenges, but with some help from your desert gardening news team, you'll have a successful and beautiful garden in no time. So Joey Lynn, how long have you lived in the desert?
I am a born and raised Nevada native. I have been here my whole life, and it has been a very dry life.
It's been very dry.
It is a learning curve that at 51 years in my life, I'm still learning, and it's still changing. It's forever changing. When I was a little girl here, I remember the summer rains, and I remember the rain hitting our patio and just sitting out there as a child, and it was amazing, and we just don't get that. I remember snow as a little girl, that we would actually build snowmen and it would stick around. So things are changing, and the beautiful thing about us as human beings is that we're adaptable. And so we're going to adapt, and we're going to learn all this together.
Well.
And plants are adaptable. However, there are certain things that we ask plants to do that we should never ask plants to do. Plants have a limited capability to perform in certain climates. So it's really, really important for you to know how to choose plants for yourself, and why, if the professionals around you in your environment, in your community, say, don't plant this, it's not going to work. We're here to kind of tell you why it's not going to work. It's not, there is a science behind it. There are reasons for it. Plants have the ability to adapt. However, certain plants, once pushed to the limit, will actually decline. When they decline, they'll get diseases and insects. So
yeah, plants are perishable, but we want to make sure that those plants can stick around for as long as possible. And probably one of the best things that you can do as a gardener in any climate is going to be to know your hardiness zone. So if you're unfamiliar, let's say you're a new gardener, or even if you're someone who's very experienced in gardening, we're going to introduce you or reiterate the USDA hardiness zones right now and what that means for you as a gardener. So Joey Lynn, so what is a hardiness zone?
Okay, so the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, they have planting zones. That is the USDA Plantee Hardiness Zone map is a standard by which gardeners and growers can determine what plants are most likely to thrive at a location. So the map is based on average annual minimum winter temperatures of each region, and they have divided it into 13 different districts called zones, and they vary about 10 degrees. Okay. So we are in the desert Southwest. The desert Southwest consists of actually 4 true deserts. Okay. So we already said that a desert is, the definition of a desert is a place of very low rainfall and restricted plant life. Okay. So it is the Great Basin Desert, the Chihuahuan Desert, the Mojave Desert, the Sororan Desert, okay? And they all fall under that definition. So that means that they all have low rainfall and they're restricted plant life. So when we get into the zone of the USDA planting zone, we're going to talk about where our stores are right now.
Right.
Okay, where our Star Nursery locations are, because that's what we're the professionals of.
Yep.
So Las Vegas, their zone number is 9A, and that temperature ranges from 20 degrees to 25 degrees, and that is the minimum winter temperatures. This is what we're talking about, right? Mesquite, Nevada, they are 8B, because their lowest is 15 to 20 degrees as their lowest minimum winter temperature. Kingman, Arizona, 8B, again, 15 to 20 degrees. Pahrump, 8B. St. George, Utah, 8B. Laughlin, Nevada is an 8B, but Bullhead City, Nevada is, and Bullhead City is an 8B. And actually, I think that is wrong. I'm wrong. It is Laughlin and Bullhead City are actually 10s. They're in the 10. They're
okay.
10. They're 10B.
Yeah, so these zones, they're all going to be based off of the lowest possible temperature.
Correct.
And that's going to probably be your lowest temperature in the winter.
Correct.
I don't imagine that it's
and
getting
that is
cold.
very, very important to know, because if you have a plant that in your book say that it is a USDA planting zone of, let's say, a 6 to an 11, and you're a 9A, then you know that you can have success in the most ideal situation for that plant. Now, there's one exception to this, and it is the Sunset Western Garden book, which we tend to use as it's kind of the growing Bible for the Desert Southwest, the Western Garden Sunset book. Now, they are based on a different system.
Right.
Their system takes into account the daytime highs as well. So the reason that this matters is because for Nevada and for California, that is what's included in the Sunset Western. It's actually a zone 11. So that's why it's confusing, and you have to know what that number represents and how to use it appropriately.
And when you're looking for plants, those plants are going to have the USDA zone probably on them to know which
Correct.
zone.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's probably going to be everyone's best bet. First and foremost is finding which plants are actually meant for your zone. And if there's a plant that you're really interested in, but you're not in a climate that can really support that plant, you can always look into maybe indoor container gardening or something of the likes. But it's really important that we're choosing plants that are going to survive and are going to thrive in our communities. Specifically, we're talking about the Mojave Desert. So in our desert Southwest communities, we want to make sure that you guys are choosing the plants that are right for your landscapes, and that you're not going to waste the money, the time, the blood, sweat, and tears gardening and trying to help this plant survive if it's just really not meant for the environment and it's just really not going to do well. And that's not your fault. That's not the gardener's fault unless they actively knew that it wasn't going to be a great plant for the environment. Then maybe it's a little bit your fault. But just make sure you guys are choosing the right plants. Make sure that you know your zones, and also keep in mind all the information that we give to you guys through this podcast and through our desert gardening news shows across different platforms. They're going to be related back to the Mojave Desert. So if you disagree with something that we might say, just always look at it from the lens that we are desert gardeners. And if you are a tropical gardener, maybe your information might be a little bit different. But we hope you stick around anyways to learn some new things about gardening and about the desert. So up next, we want to kind of go over soil. So desert soil is going to be a lot different from other soil that you're going to find around America, around the world. Our desert soil falls under one of the 12 major classifications of soil, and it is considered aridisol soil. So the name aridisol comes from the Latin word aridus, which literally means dry.
That's
so,
right.
If you were confused at all of why it's named that way, it's because our soil is really dry, and it needs that extra bit of moisture and TLC to be quote unquote healthy. And so Joey Lynn, tell us more maybe about soil and what you need to make sure as a desert gardener that your soil is the consistency what it needs, things to like?
Our soil is pretty much comprised of sand, clay, and rock. That is not a good place for roots to grow in. In clay, it's very compact. It retains a lot of water. Imagine making pottery. Our soil has a lot of that clay component, caliche. And so it doesn't drain because it's lacking organic matter. So the organic matter parts of soil are the things that decompose, and they act like the spongy part in soil, and they open up these pores and allow oxygen to be in there and allow water to drain properly. And so that's what we don't have. We don't have organic matter. So the most important thing for desert gardening is that you will have to amend your soil. When we say amend, we mean add organic matter.
And you can find a few different products that are going to do this for you, or you could maybe start your own compost pile. But here at the nursery, you can definitely find different products, especially our Dr. Q line. We're going to have soil amendments that are specifically formulated for our desert soils.
Yes, they are specifically formulated for our desert Southwest. So it's really, really a great product. We're very proud of our store brand. We have worked in partnership with scientists for years from the inception of our store brand to make sure that the products that you are using are going to be wonderful for the soil, that you're going to be able to amend your soil with the proper stuff. It's not going to have anything that's going to add to the negative aspects of our native soil, which would be salts. That's what happens in an arid soil. As the water just sits there because it doesn't drain, we get this cakey layer on our desert soils. And what that does is all the soils kind of just sit and rise to the top. Well, when you have all these salts rise to the top, that changes the pH. Therefore, we have a toxic situation.
Right.
So that's really a great thing to do, is to add amendments, add organic mulch. Our Dr. Q's pay dirt is phenomenal for adding into the native soil. And a quick side note, whenever you add the pay dirt, it is adding, you still need the native soil. So when we're planting trees and shrubs, we need to still have the native soil in there, because it's going to balance, and there's positive traits to having some clay in your soil as well. So that's just the start. We're going to get so into all of this. It's going to be so exciting in episodes to come.
Yeah, so this is more of a general overview, and we're going through kind of just what the desert biome is like over here in the Mojave. So now that we've gone over our soil, let's get a better understanding about water in the desert. So we just went over, we're in a drought.
Yes.
But our plants still need water.
Yes.
And we still need to water our plants.
Yes.
So along with the water, we need sun, we need carbon dioxide to photosynthesize. And then in our water, we want to make sure that there's enough nutrients, because through that water, our nutrients will dissolve, and then our plants will be able to pick them up. And they can't do that unless the soil is right. Like we said, our soils have a very high pH, and so we need to bring that down. So you're going to do that with your organic matter. You're going to do that with your amendments. And if you have any more questions about that, we have a lot of resources on our website that you can go to. But for right now, let's go back into water. So what would you suggest for a new gardener setting up irrigation for their garden? What kind of irrigation do you think they should look into?
First, you have to determine whether or not you're going to be watering by hand or you're going to be putting it on an automatic system. Plants are just like humans. We want to eat and drink at the same time. We don't want to go into a starvation mode, right? So plants are the exact same thing. They want consistent watering. So it's very difficult in the desert Southwest to water by hand, because typically what happens is we end up overwatering. That will kill just as much plants here in the desert Southwest than a drought. So That is number one. Know how you're going to water and when you're going to water. The best time to water plants is in the morning. First thing in the morning. Get that plant started or your vegetable garden first thing in the morning when the weather is, the temperatures are cool and low. And then only water when the soil starts to dry out. What you stated before, fertilizers and nutrients have got to become water soluble. So the only way to get them to break down so that the plant can take them up is with water. So the water used in the root system is there to keep the soil moist so that the nutrients that are in the soil can actually be delivered to the plant. So it's a really important step. First, you have to evaluate what your water source is and how you're going to irrigate that plant. The best recommended for trees and shrubs and even for vegetable gardening and plant gardening is to go into a drip irrigation system. A drip irrigation system is the water system has a lower pressure of water coming out, and then it is delivered to the base of the plants, and it is delivered directly to the root zone. That watering system is called drip emitter, or they're called drip emitters on a drip system. And those give water at the rate of gallons per hour. So that is the second most important thing, is to know what kind of system you already have. If you have a system, if you have a high pressure, it's most likely gallons per hour. And to be a good, responsible gardener here in the desert Southwest, you need to have it down to a drip system that delivers water at gallons per hour.
And we do have irrigation specialists at our store. So if you ever have some additional questions for them, feel free to drop by and give them a holler and ask them questions so that you know that your plants are getting exactly what they need. And you're also supporting the community and our water regulations. If you're still with us, we hope you had so much fun and learned something new. It's been really exciting starting this podcast.
So exciting. And this was a lot of information all at first. So
I know.
It's a lot to absorb, but we're going to get into
overwhelmed.
specifics too.
We'll get into some more specifics. This was mainly just supposed to be an introductory to desert gardening. For anyone who's new in the area and might be a little bit confused or maybe intimidated by our environment, but we're just here to tell you that it is possible, and you can have a beautiful garden, a beautiful landscape, or beautiful containers full of gorgeous looking plants, gorgeous and healthy looking plants.
And we're here to help.
We are here to help. If you have more questions, we have a lot of information on our website, so head over to starnursery.com. You can stop into one of our stores, and you can also find us on social media, Star Nursery LV on Instagram. You can follow our Facebook page, and also head over to Star Nursery's Dr. Q on YouTube. And if you want, you can join us next episode as we go over vegetable and herb gardening.
Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.